What's up, guys? Just checking in, starting a little filming for the day. Started filming a little late today. Just finished up with 2 separate business development meetings on the south side of Pittsburgh, and now I'm headed into town, taking the T, which is Pittsburgh's light rail system for those who aren't from Pittsburgh. Starting to get pretty cold here. We got spoiled for a couple days, having some 50, 60 degree weather, and now it's about 32 and kind of starting to snow. I think they're expecting a little wintry mix tonight. We'll see how that plays into the day. All right, very good meeting downtown. Made some nice progress. Got my tie on. All right, so this Dow 20,000 thing, I want to summarize this for you guys. It's a non-issue. It's no news. Everybody's talking about it in the headlines. It's really pretty meaningless. The Dow Jones Index is made up of 30 stocks. They're not equally weighted. The Dow Jones is actually what's called a price-weighted index. So each stock doesn't represent 1/30th of the index. It represents a certain weight, and that weight is entirely based on the price of the shares. The price of the shares is pretty irrelevant, actually. A company's value is determined by the price of the shares times the total number of shares. Every company has a different number of shares, which is really kind of arbitrary. So the Dow as 20,000 doesn't really impress me very much. If anything, pay attention to the S&P 500. It's a little bit more relevant as determining the health of the economy. It's actually what's called a market cap weighted index, which means it's weighted by companies' overall values, not just their price. So Dow 20,000, not that impressed. All right, now we need to get to another meeting over in Sewickley. Okay, another quick note about the S&P 500 versus the Dow Jones is that the design of the S&P 500 actually being a market cap weighted index is actually relevant. The entire purpose of market cap weighting, and I won't go into the math of it with you, but it ultimately serves one purpose, and that is to simultaneously maximize expected return while minimizing volatility. And that actually goes both ways. So volatility means both down and up. So market cap weighted indexes aren't necessarily perfect for diversification either, depending on your goals. But just some food for thought. right, I just got to where I need to be for my next meeting, grabbing a quick power bar. I'm a huge fan of these things. I don't have time for lunch today, but this stuff travels well. What is this? 140 calories, 11 grams of protein. You can't beat it. Travels nicely, and you can't be hungry when you're working, especially if you're working hard on the strategy side of things. You got to be able to think. We're going to come back to this in the future, but very important thought and fact is that every single thought you think takes glucose, and it burns it, it uses it. It's a limited resource in your blood, and because of that, you can't go hungry when you're working on big stuff. Oh, that was good. Okay, got a couple minutes before I need to go. Let's hit this Dow 20,000 thing a little bit more. I just told you it's no big deal, yet you're hearing about it in the headlines a lot. Why? The answer is because it's a round number, and it's a really round number, meaning it's not a tens or a hundreds or a thousands. It's a tens of thousands round number. We're naturally attracted to round numbers. Think about it when you go and use the microwave, right? Maybe you heat up some leftovers and you put into the microwave 2 minutes. Was 2 minutes really the optimal amount of time it takes to heat up whatever you're heating? What are the odds that the exact perfect amount of time to get that exact right amount of heat is 2 minutes? Maybe it's 2 minutes and 13 seconds. Maybe it's a minute 47, who knows? But we think in round numbers. We're naturally drawn to them. For most people, it's the same thing at the gas station. You put $35 worth of gas in the car. Most people don't typically just stop when it says $26.57. They usually top it off. They'll round up to the nearest dollar. Well, the same thing happens on Wall Street. A lot of people have a valuation in their head that they think is just too much for the value of the Dow Jones, for example. That's actually one of the reasons it took so long to breach that 20,000 threshold. A lot of investors who owned interests in securities or mutual funds that replicated the Dow Jones Industrial Average set to sell when the Dow reached 20,000. Well, interestingly, they weren't alone. A lot of other people did too. A whole lot of people. So when you have a massive amount of people that all want to sell when the Dow is at 20,000, there's so much downward pressure on the value of the Dow at the 20,000 level that it creates such a selling environment that breaching that level is actually quite difficult. One piece of advice I like to give to investors is whatever value you have for a security or for an index that you think is a good time to sell, make sure it's not a round number. You actually want to decide on a number that's a little bit lower. So let's say you think that the Dow Jones should be sold at 20,000, then you should be selling at, say, 19,873, right? A complete not round number, and then you don't run into as much resistance if you're concerned about actually getting your order executed. This is actually a really key concept to successful investing. You actually have to train yourself out of thinking about round numbers. There's a really easy way to do it. I kind of referenced it just a minute ago, and that is do things in your life that you normally do with round numbers without round numbers. Next time you're at the microwave, come up with a different number. Try 1 minute and 53 seconds and see if that's enough time. If it's not, you can always put it back in, but just get out of thinking in round number terms. Same thing at the gas pump. It's actually somewhat of a challenge for a lot of people, but it really is key to your financial success. This is a concept that will come up time and time again. It will apply in selling not only investments that are securities, but selling a house, selling all sorts of things. Don't think in round numbers. All right, it's time to go. I got to get in there. All right, just wrapped up with my meeting. I'm exhausted. I've had a long day. I need to go home and get some sleep. But I wanted to give you one more thought on this pricing strategy as it applies to these round numbers. And That's that you've probably seen that prices are typically in a retail environment listed at 99 cents. Maybe it's $19.99 or $14.95 or something like that. There's a reason behind that. With pricing psychology, it is perceived that the seller of goods is earning a lower profit margin with a more specific price. So if something is evenly priced, people assume that there's a certain amount of profit that is reasonable, and then the seller round it up to the nearest round number. It doesn't even happen necessarily at the conscious level, but when you see a whole number, you're just suspicious. If a house sells for $250,000, what are the odds that it's actually worth exactly $250,000? It's the same thing as the microwave example. What are the odds that 2 minutes get your meal exactly to the perfectly warm temperature? It's just not probable. And every time we see things that aren't probable, we have to adjust for that accordingly. All right, guys, that's it for tonight. It is now snowing / sleeting or something out. It's very cold, it's a little windy. I need to call it a night, but thanks so much for watching. Thank you so much to all my recent subscribers, all the subscribers that have been with me since the beginning. And if you enjoyed this content and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me, and look forward to bringing you a lot of really great content very soon. Thanks so much.